Here's a little picture I drew quite some time ago, brothers and sisters, of all the Straw Hats, the first 5 anyway, and of course now we have Chopper, but at any rate, if you like this type of drawing and more, remember to follow me on all of the social networks. One Piece, Chapter 179, Showdown at Alubarna.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the epic and classic and just awesome, and just egregious, that's a good one, I don't even know what that means, Tale of One Piece. But our last chapter, of course, left us with, you know, the sandstorm heading towards Yuba that Croc had whipped up, and then him pretty much just, you know, gutting Luffy with that claw of his and holding him up in the air in kind of a grisly sight. So that's where things leave off, and we don't immediately get back to that. So things start off, and it kind of shows us. You know, it shows us from a few different perspectives of what's going on, but it shows us the Straw Hats on their way to Alubarna, excuse me, the capital, minus Luffy, of course, and really just, you know, everybody, you know, Zoro is of course practicing some strength techniques. Sanji's, you know, kind of goes at him, and they go at each other, making fun of each other a little bit, which I think is really funny because they kind of have this, it's kind of a whose dick is bigger contest with these guys constantly. Usopp is telling his tall tales, his story to Chopper, and basically, you know, everybody's just worried about Luffy, but some of them are showing it in different ways, and they're all doing different things to pass the time. So, you know, Vivi says, "Don't worry, it's going to be okay. We made a promise to each other to meet in Alubarna," you know, and she's just trying to have that almost that I guess you'd say almost naive, you know, type of sense, you know, about her. She knows that bad things could happen, but is trying to believe that they won't, you know. And really that's what it's all about. It's about the friendship that all of them are starting to develop with one another. Of course, the love-hate relationship between Sanji and Zoro is just comical. But really it is. It's about them, you know, all coming together and all having their places in the crew, and really feeling like they're not a whole unit without Luffy, you know, minus Luffy. So I definitely thought that it was kind of cool. We then go and we see Yuba, and we see Todo and that hole that Luffy started digging in. Now Todo has hollowed out. It's really big, and there's a huge pool of water there now, and the water's starting to rise up, so he's managed to uncover some water, and he's excited. You know, he's, "Oh, wow, Luffy, see, I told you." He's talking to himself. You know, Yuba won't be overcome by the sand, and, you know, this and that, and this is a strong land that'll prevail. So it's really about, you know, it's a strong kingdom and a strong land that won't be, you know, that no sandstorm is going to wipe out. And of course, as he is saying that, we then go and kind of see, like, the twister that's on its way, the big sandstorm. I keep calling it a twister, but it's the way it's drawn. You know, it's just a huge sandstorm that looks like a twister, a tornado. And a tornado in the desert is what we'll call it. So this thing is coming, it's gaining some force, and then we go, and this is, you know, 5-6 pages into it, we wind up seeing, then, of course, Luffy still being held up, you know, on the claw by, you know, by Crocodile. And Luffy just does not look good. I mean, there's just blood dripping everywhere. And Croc looks like he got him right through, maybe underneath the chest cavity, maybe to the side, maybe kind of where the lung is, maybe, I don't know, somewhere where the kidney's down here. I'm not really sure. It's kind of hard to tell, but he definitely got him good. So the cool thing is, and I made this little prediction, I guess you'd say, a couple of chapters ago on how could you beat somebody like this that's made of sand. And I almost jokingly said, well, maybe you got to throw water on him, you know, and then somehow imprison him. And I think that may be part of the key to it, because his whole sand deal is being able to dry up and pull the water out of everything. However, Luffy goes and he still has that little canteen jug thing that he was holding up that was around his neck that Todo gave him, and the water, he's punctured that as well as Luffy with the hook. And some of that water starts running down his arm, and it looks like it kind of starts, like, you know, waterlogging, like saturating his arm, you know. So maybe that's the key, is you know, getting Croc's ass and fighting him in a battle, you know, surrounded by water and being able to, you know, I don't know, splash him. No, but all seriousness, it seems like that might be one of the keys to isolating or negating some of his power, you know, that he has. So so definitely a grisly sight, though, you know, seeing Luffy all messed up like that. And and as Luffy goes to go and say something to him or lunge towards him and kind of grab his arm, you know, he does, because obviously Luffy's got the water on his hand, and he kind of grabs his arm or whatever too, you know. Croc goes and he's like, "You're still alive," and he goes, "He's not for long," and he, you know, kind of whips him down into the sand, and then, you know, he starts to get sucked up by the quicksand that Croc creates. And, you know, and it's pretty much just like a, hey, you know, you're a foolish boy and you're dead now, or you're going to be dead. So Luffy gets, I mean, completely sucked under the sand. And, I mean, the picture of him is just grisly. I mean, Oda does some nice things with the art. You know, someone pointed out to me back in Don Krieg times that when you see a person with their eyes completely white, that means they've been knocked out, you know. And when you see somebody where their eyes are just all black and in like that, it usually means that there's a lot of hash marks drawn on their face, a lot of shadow. It really usually just means that they're really, really at the brink of death. I mean, they're injured, you know. So that's kind of what I get from it. He's tossed down in the sand. He looks like he's sucked up in the sand, and of course Croc's going to go on his merry way. The rest of the chapter is really about showing briefly all the different forces at work over here. You know, it shows Koza and the rebels and how they're headed to Alubarna. It shows Chaka getting everybody prepared, getting cannons ready for the attack, the inevitable attack on Alubarna. It even shows, well, Tashigi and Smoker. It shows them, and it's kind of cool because we don't know what Smoker's up to, but he basically, Tashigi's like, "What should we do? You know, should I go and help the Royal Army? Should we go after the Straw Hats?" And he's like, "Whatever you want." And she's like, "What?" You know, she's supposed to get orders from him, right? And he goes, "Listen, I have to go out to sea to take care of something for a little bit here. You're in charge. I'll back up whatever you do, you know, and no matter what it is, you know, there's going to be no shitstorm on you, so whatever your choice is, that's fine, you know, but pay attention to what happens in this particular, you know, kind of like in this war, in this battle, and how things turn out, because it's things like this that can change the fate of the whole world, right?" So he kind of, you know, so the events here may dictate things for years to come, or may shape and change the foundation of our entire being and the people that live on this planet. So that's kind of what I got from it, and he's going to do something, obviously, that's important. We don't know what it is yet. So Tashigi goes and, of course, ordering everybody, "Sergeant, what are we doing?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, right. We're going to go after the Straw Hats, you know, mount up, grab your weapons, we're going," right? We head to Alubarna. So they're headed there, of course. We also know that, and we wind up actually seeing Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas, because we know that, of course, now they have captured King Cobra. King Cobra is bloodied, beaten, and tied up in a chair, and they're basically bitching and complaining about how it's so boring. Well, Miss Merry Christmas is. Mr. Four doesn't really talk very much. You know, he's kind of got that grape ape mentality, it seems like. And so she's, you know, bitching and complaining. Her back hurts. You know, they're bored sitting there having to watch the king. And the king goes, and it's kind of cool because he's all bloodied and stuff, and he's just sort of like he's like delirious almost, it looks like, and he's talking, and he's just like, "Chaka, Koza," and he's, you know, he's trying to basically say, "Don't fight," you know. And it goes into this couple-page spread of different panels, and he kind of gives this speech about, like, you know, people are all fighting for a different reason, but it's all the same basic principle. You know what I mean? Tashigi and company, they're fighting for what they think is right and to do what is good, right? And then, of course, you have Koza and the rebels who are fighting for, you know, they're fighting for the country, you know? And the whole thing, too, with Croc going and burying Yuba, which he tells Luffy about, too, I forgot before he kills him, is that's ultimately going to it's going to add salt to the wound, you know what I mean? The rebellion's already going to be in full swing, but once they find out that Yuba's been completely wiped out by a sandstorm, right? I mean, it's going to tear the kingdom apart. And but then it goes and it shows, you know, and it shows a picture, of course, of Croc, and, you know, it says, you know, those that incite war and this and that. So basically it goes and it shows all these different people and all these different groups, and they're all, of course, heading now and converging on Alubarna, the capital. And then it shows a map, and it shows all the forces coming from the different directions, you know. And really that's what it is about, is that everybody is going to come together and wind up, it's going to wind up being a shit show, I mean, if somebody doesn't do something about it, you know. So I kind of liked, and I know that I've been doing this a little bit here, you know, bringing these up, but basically, yeah, you know, you got the map there. And if you can see it, there you go. You got the map there showing everybody converging on it. And then, of course, the last page, which was really cool before the chapter ends. And you know, this is just me foreshadowing here. I kind of figured Luffy wasn't going to die because, you know, I'm assuming that, you know, he's going to be in the 450 chapters ahead of this. But he was pretty screwed up. He goes and you see him come climbing up out of the sand, you know, pulling himself out of that pit somehow. And then it kind of gives this, you know, and then you just see a big word bubble that says, "meat." And I just picture Luffy, like, pulling out of the sand and just, meat. You know, so that's definitely definitely a cool one, I thought. Just all in all, the chapter, it did hit a lot of different points and is showing that things are about to come to a head over here. So my chapter question for you is, I'd really like to know, yeah, I think I would really like to know about this. As far as Luffy goes, we know what some of his powers are and things like that. And we know that Zoro has taken a pretty bad beating before, and, you know, he just seems to heal up and shrug it off. But Luffy, being rubber like he is, and getting, you know, run through, I guess you would say, with this hook, I just want to know how is he going to heal from something like that? I mean, you would think to begin with that he's rubber, so he would just stretch and that he couldn't really be pierced by anything. But, I mean, because bullets can bounce back, but yet you can stab him with a sword because it's sharp, or a hook or whatever, so I kind of get that, but I just wonder, like, how does Luffy come back from something like that? I mean, this is all happening right now, and it looks like he was just run through in some major organs over there. So if it's too big of a spoiler, don't tell me as usual. I understand. If you can answer, great. And certainly, too, you know, keep in mind that I'm usually about 8 to 10 chapters out from wherever it is that this one is coming out. So if it's something that's answered, you know, very very shortly, then you know, which we'll probably see in the next few chapters, then of course I've probably already seen it anyway, so you're not spoiling anybody. But enough about that. Remember to leave your comments and the answer to the question, or just general nonsense like me rambling, in the comment box down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button, if you should think that I deserve it. It always helps, you know, and is a good gauge for whether you like what I'm doing or whether you dislike what I'm doing. And then subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching you in the next one, nation.
Could this be the end for our brave Straw Hat Luffy? Well, probably not, but just judging by the fact that there's 500 more chapters to go.